In this video, I'm going to talk about humor, and I'm going to relate it to the system of the 5 elements and talk about how your specific sense of humor could potentially relate to your element type. Sit tight.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to another video. My name is Jen Palco. Today we're going to do a video that's a little bit unique, and this is inspired by somebody had, mentioned to me, well, do you think that based on how we use something like humor, is it a way for us to almost balance out a particular element that maybe be out of balance or deficient for us, or does it tell us which element we might be, depending on what types of humor, what types of things make us laugh? So I wanted to delve into this because I think it's a really, really interesting concept. It's really something to think about. And I wanted to do a video on potentially how your particular sense of humor could relate to your element type, or maybe what may be out of balance for you, and how your body is almost like naturally trying to balance itself out in a sort of way. So it's a really unique concept, and it's really interesting. So, first off, let me just say, humor and laughter. It's such a diverse thing if you think about it, because what I find funny, somebody else could find offensive, or somebody else could find not funny. And it's like, what is it, about the human psychology? And I know this has been studied before, so I'm not going to go into the psychology, because honestly, I don't really know that much about, what has been studied as far as humor and laughter, and, specifically what makes something funny to somebody versus somebody else. Okay, I'm going to relate it to the Chinese system of the 5 elements, of course. But, it's very interesting how different people have different things. Somebody could like slapstick comedy, and somebody else could think that's dumb, and somebody could like really deadpan sarcasm or something like that. So, is it a way for us to actually balance out an element? Let's talk about it. So, first let me say that humor in itself, humor and laughter, I'll put them both together, they all have a component of fire to them. Okay, because fire not only has to do with the sound of laughter, but it also has to do with the heart. So when you have real, true laughter, not fake laughter, you can feel it in your body. What happens? Basically, you feel it here in your heart region. So the fire component of something like laughter and humor, basically what it does, it softens and it opens up the heart. So all humor, I would say, in my opinion, has a fire component to it, because it has to do with the heart and this opening effect, this softening effect. But humor can be used in a lot of different ways. Okay, it can be used, number one, to connect you with another person, relatability. Okay, a lot of people use humor as a way to kind of ease something, okay, or to make friends, stuff like that, get attention in certain cases. Number 2, humor can be used as a coping mechanism. We all know this. Sometimes we use humor if we're feeling insecure or nervous, because humor, making light of something, can make us feel safer. But also there's a darker side to humor. And number 3, it can be used for manipulation or personal gain. All right, so this ties in a little bit to the relatability aspect, but when I say manipulation, it's using humor not in the sense that we want to really connect with somebody, but using it in a way for personal gain or control, because we know that it's the way in, okay? It's the way into somebody's heart, per se. So let's talk the 5 elements a little bit, because I don't want to make this too long. So when it comes to humor, think about what types of things make you laugh. For me personally, I like random, odd, stupid humor, not stupid humor and like I don't know, Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell movies. That kind of stuff's like not funny to me, but odd, peculiar, out of the ordinary, maybe call it shock value. Other people probably think it's like not funny, but I do. So stupid things like, I don't know, I could walk around wearing a mustache and I'll think that's funny and somebody else will think that's like really dumb. Anyway, so think about it. What makes you laugh? And you know, I'm sure you've told a joke or you've tried to make light of something and somebody else just kind of like stared you down and, you know, right over their head. And you're like, dude, come on, why didn't you find that funny? I find it really hilarious. So anyway, okay. So let's start here, okay? Fire, earth, metal, water, wood. If you're not familiar with the 5 elements, I have many, many videos on them. So I suggest you check out some of them. And this is related to the Chinese 5 element system. So you could say, well, all right, Eastern medicine and relating it to humor, how does that work? Well, let's try and make it work. So fire. Fire is the most yang element. Like I said, it has the connection to the heart. So all humor has a fire component to it. We have all the elements within us. So there is going to be some sort of gray area crossover with humor. So you may not just like one type of humor. And that shows because you are all of these within you. It's just you may have some that are stronger or certain elements come out at different times. So fire, I would say, you know, the emotion of fire. So humor, there's always going to be the laughter component, the fire component, but there's also going to be a secondary emotion to it that comes out. And you can see this if you really pay attention and you're aware of it. But starting with fire, the most yang element, the emotion associated with fire is joy. Laughter. So fire element may go for more like playful comedy, slapstick, for example. Slapstick could also be wood because wood has a physical component to it and needs to feel in control. So there could be a little bit of ego involved in that. If wood is out of balance, where it's like, I want to see somebody trip over their own feet or see somebody be embarrassed or pretty much kind of preying on other people's vulnerabilities in a way because it gives the wood element more power, it gives the ego more power. But if you're talking about something like slapstick comedy, like Three Stooges, that could have like a playful effect. So that could be fire, could be wood because there's this physical, almost violent approach to it, and violence could be associated with anger. But, you know, things that are more on the surface. So it could be like the Anchorman movie or something like that where it's just fun and flighty because fire is fun and it's flighty and it doesn't want to think too hard. So it has this more physical component to it. Now let's go to earth, okay? And earth was one that I found tricky as far as comedy because I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, what kind of, you know, what would an earth person or somebody who's trying to balance their earth, what kind of humor would fit into that? And, you know, earth is a lot about comfort. It's about being grounded, but out of balance, it could also be people pleasing. So if you think of from the earth aspect, it could be, you know, finding funny what other people find funny for this kind of this group effect where you feel comforted by other people and you want to be part of this family or this group. So you're going to laugh at, you know, what your family laughs at. But there's also this nostalgic effect to the earth element and they like old things and comfort. So because it's grounding again. So, you know, when it comes to comedy, earth element types may find things funny that they found funny as a kid, or this is kind of like wholesome comedy. They're not going to necessarily be into this like crude type of humor or violence because earth element is the peacekeeper and the mediator. So they might be into, yeah, wholesome, just comfort, maybe even like cartoons they liked when they were a kid. I don't know. So that one had trouble with, but you know, there is this people-pleasing effect that can go on. Sympathy, kind of maybe using humor as a way to gain sympathy. I'm not sure exactly on that one. I have to think on that one a little bit more. Metal's interesting because metal is associated with the lungs and the large intestine and the emotion of grief. But there's also this aspect of self-esteem issues that come with the metal element, and the metal element likes, even though they won't say it, because the metal element is more yin, a little more secluded, they're not going to be very forthright with asking for what they want, but they do want some sort of acknowledgement or recognition in life for things that they do, accomplishments, stuff like that. But again, they're not going to be projecting outward about it. But they do seek that because metal has a lot to do with self-esteem. So using humor in a way that's more self-deprecating, did I say that right? So pretty much making fun of yourself. So I could see the metal element, or trying to balance out something that's out of balance, making fun of yourself because it's kind of this self-esteem where it's making light of something, your vulnerabilities. It kind of takes away the embarrassment, or it takes away some of that low self-esteem that metals can feel, or lack of acknowledgement. It makes light of something like that. So they may be into type of humor making fun of themselves, whereas somebody like a wood element may be more, because it's more yang and outward in nature, making fun of other people. Because again, it can be tied to control, very direct, physical, and the emotion of anger. And the emotion of anger can be, it has like this ego thing involved with it. So it could be making fun of somebody else who's embarrassed or vulnerable because it gives the wood element power over them. Okay, again, it's more intrusive, aggressive kind of energy, whereas metal is going to be more inward focused. I'm going to make fun of myself to kind of take the pressure off of this situation I'm in, or to gain this recognition or this acknowledgement from somebody else. Okay, and then water is going to be the most yin, and the emotion associated with water is of course fear. And waters tend to be deeper, right? So you have fire, which is more scattered and outward and more on the superficial layer, and the opposite of that is water, which is going to be more yin in nature. So this could be somebody who uses humor to cover up their fears, cover up their nervous, using humor when they're nervous to make them feel safer, because the water element wants to feel safe. So I'm sure you've probably used humor before in a nervous kind of energy or situation, say at a workplace or around people you don't know. And if you're kind of a more shy or introverted person, you may use humor as a way of feeling a little more confident in yourself, okay, and not, showing your fear to other people, showing your nervousness to other people, and it may come out through, cracking jokes or doing things like that. And also there's this deeper, so water people can be deep thinkers as well. Whereas maybe fire is going to be a little more on the playful side, that sort of thing. Water's maybe not going to like slapstick so much. They may like more intelligent humor or dark humor, because again, waters are more introverted and they turn inward a little more. And by intelligent humor, I don't mean that, waters are smarter than fires. What I mean is humor like satire or sarcasm or even wordplay, where dad jokes, well, Earth could be into dad jokes because maybe that's like nostalgic, but things that make you think, okay? Maybe that deadpan kind of humor where it's not just right up in your face, it's like telling a joke and you have to kind of use your brain. So it engages the brain and intelligence a little more to get the joke. Where fire, maybe a little bit of wood, is going to engage more like the physical body to get the joke. So I just thought it was interesting. And again, wood, like I said, is maybe more physical in nature, could be prone to making fun of other people and like that kind of humor, or like the humor of somebody tripping over their own feet. I mean, that can be funny for everybody. But again, you're going to have crossover between all this stuff. So I don't know. I just thought it was a really, really interesting question that was posed to me, an interesting concept to think about, because we use humor in so many ways. We use it to cope, but we use it for relatability, to get attention in a way. You know, it could be fires, can be attention seeking, so they could use humor in that way to relate to somebody. So we use humor in all our different ways and different capacities to essentially relate to somebody else, to feel more safe, to feel more comfortable. You know, so it's really an interesting thing, because again, what I find funny, you might not find funny, and you know, like vice versa. So anyway, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what kind of humor you like, because I'm interested in what types of things people like or engage in, and that sort of thing. If you have any other insights about humor related to the 5 elements, I know we could go in depth probably a little bit more, but I don't want to make this video too long. But I just wanted to touch on it. And I think there is a correlation between your element type, or what you may be trying to balance out naturally. Because maybe you have a deficiency somewhere. Like I said, you know, the underlying emotion will come out in certain types of humor, or what you like. Because even if you grow up, and I just, you know, I was thinking about this, like, you can't force yourself to find something funny. You can grow up and find things funny, and kind of, you know, how you're raised, and maybe that has a certain tie-in as well to this, but you can't really force yourself. You can't force your heart to love something it doesn't love. So that's the part that's really interesting about humor, and humor is awesome for just raising our vibration, and we could go into a whole other segment on vibrational frequencies with humor. For example, humor that is more a low frequency state is going to be something like constantly putting other people down or making fun of other people, that kind of stuff, versus just light, fun humor that's not being offensive to other people. Because again, there's this dark side effect to it, or manipulation that comes along with it, to make ourselves feel better because we have low self-esteem, or we're trying to feel in control, or we're trying to get something from other people. So yeah, so I think that's it. I know there was something else I wanted to mention, but it's not entering my brain right now, so I'm gonna end it here. So anyway, subscribe if you haven't done so. I put out new videos pretty often for you on anything 5 elements, self-development, self-empowerment, all kinds of cool stuff. So on that note, have a great day, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.